Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Hello, I'm Scott.
Hello, Scott, and it is not the end of the month, it is
Yes.
the start of the month, and yet we are covering the news, because this month there's some interesting things happening in the realm of Doctor Who, that being, there's new Doctor Who coming. They said it would never happen. They said it was impossible. But alas, the time is upon us. Next week, isn't it, that new Doctor Who starts?
Yep, this time next week.
Ah,
Well, not
that's
this time,
crazy.
but in like
Yeah. On like
16 hours.
Friday,
a week and
at
16
midnight
hours.
or something. Yeah. Yeah. New Doctor Who comes out, so we are releasing the news episode instead of covering a regular episode, as we were covering all of War Games, which took 18 years for us to finish, and we covered Sarah Jane last week as well, as just a little bit of a change of pace and a little bit of a palate cleanser, you know. But we've got a fair chunk of news to get into before we jump in. Before Doctor Who starts next week, I should say. Off the bat, I want to get some things out of the way before we jump into the news, though. That first, the big main topic that should be written in bold on this document that I'm looking at here, Scott, is we have a Discord server now. Wow, it's only taken us 3 years to bother with actually trying to build some sort of community here with our podcast. So feel free, there should be a link in the description. There is also going to be, I've already put a link out. If you go to our YouTube page on the community tab, there is a permanent link that will invite into our Discord server, as same as on our Facebook page, and I haven't put it out on our Twitter yet, but Scott should probably, you should do that, Scott. You should put out the invite on our super popular x.com account, and feel free to come in. There's a whole heap of channels where we can chat Doctor Who and everything in between, and you can even sit in on recordings of episodes if you so feel like doing that. A lot of it is us sitting in silence watching the episodes back, but hey, you know, if you're into that type of thing, go for it. It's completely free public server. Just feel free to jump in and we'll happily chat all sorts of shenanigans with you. Anyway, let us jump into the actual proper first news segment of today, which is Russell T Davies does some talking. Let's cover the first big thing, which is the midnight release coming off this first 2 episodes, and every episode's coming out at midnight now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Which we have been vocally critical of in previous episodes. I'm still very negative upon it. We had a comment in one of our news episodes. I will pull up that comment specifically because I disagreed with it, and I wrote.
One, right?
Yeah, it must have been our last.
I must
episode.
say I am more okay with it than I was the last time. So.
I'm not. I still don't like it. I mean, I wasn't adamantly against it before. I was just like, this is a really bad idea, and I still think it's a really bad idea. It's not going to end my life or ruin anything, like my day or anything like that. I would just prefer if that wasn't the case. But we got a comment in our last news episode that I thought was worth pointing out, and that was Jinx Monsoon. No, it's Jinx Moon Sun? No, it's Monsoon. See, Scott, you're an idiot. You don't get names right. No, that's not the comment that I want to say. It was this user here commented, with decision on the times, British fans always being selfish, just go to sleep, not hard. And I think that kind of avoids the wider conversation of, you know, just go to sleep and you watch the episode in the morning, who cares about it? Where it's like, you know, we liked being able to watch the episode and immediately go on and chat and discuss and have that immediate organic fan reaction. But anyway, let's see what Russell T Davies has to say about this. Doctor Who has had all sorts of transmission patterns over the years, with lots of bumps and changes. There has been plenty of warning for the new pattern for you to plan ahead and choose your own viewing, and that's the point. Choice. You're not having to change your habits to fit the show. The show is changing to fit you. and it's adapting to the pattern of modern TV shows, which I believe will soon be the norm. This is the future, and it's already here. A midnight viewing could be lovely. Stay up, have a party, and that includes kids too. Plenty of children went to a midnight opening bookstores when the new Harry Potter books were released. It was part of the game, part of the narrative, a story they'd tell for years to come. It's easy to say stay offline when your health or job or nature might make that impossible, and I'm sorry because then, yes, spoilers will fly. Unfortunately, there's always been a subset of viewers hitting the spoiler problem, like the tons of people who work Saturdays and on night shifts. They've had to negotiate this for years, so there has never been a transmission pattern in the digital age that's perfect for everyone. He also says that it's hard to avoid spoilers anyway because there will be people going to advanced screenings at the end of April, and there have been leaks that he's been desperate to stop because those spoilers are damaging. And I don't fully understand his logic here. He's like, so if you worked night shift, you would get spoiled anyway, so I figured, fuck it, I'll ruin everybody else's enjoyment of the show.
I mean, there was more to this. He wrote like 2 pages in Doctor Who magazine all about this. Like, it's
frantically
probably
trying to justify his decisions.
It's probably about 1,000 words he wrote about this. So if you want more context, you could easily just go buy Doctor Who magazine. But yeah, again, I think I'm okay with this change now. I think I have turned completely. Like next Saturday, for example, the episodes premiere at 6:20 on BBC One. I am working on Saturday night, so I'll be able to watch a midnight release. So it works out for me next week, but maybe not the week after. Who knows? But it's fine.
It works. It works out for me every other week because I work Saturdays. Like I work every other Saturday, so some Saturdays I'll be able to watch it live, and then other Saturdays I won't because I have to go to bed because I've got work in the next day. So it's like, again, it doesn't really bother me that much, and I'm not so online brained that I'm like gonna be like frantically scrolling. I mean, like, I'm a wrestling fan, and most wrestling happens in the United States, and which means I'm watching it not live. So I have to, when I wake up in the morning, not go on social media because there'll be spoilers everywhere. Like, I am used to that type of schedule and that type of having to avoid it. It's just sad that Doctor Who is now just like every other show.
Yeah.
You know, we talked for years since starting the podcast how Doctor Who is the last live viewing that we have. It's the last proper TV show. Like, we've said that many, many times on this show. And it's just sad that that era is now over. Now it's just like everything else. You know, it's no longer appointment viewing. It's just viewing.
Yeah. And, you know, our solution would be just to, put it on BBC iPlayer, 6 o'clock on a Saturday night. Everybody could watch it at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, and most of Europe wouldn't have to sacrifice their sleep schedule to watch it first. You know, like, it would work out for Americans as well. You know, like, it would have been completely fine if it was 6 p.m. But midnight is a bit too much. And Russell T Davis says maybe next year they'll change it. Just depends on how viewers adapt to it, I guess. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I am more fine with it than I was last time. So I presume I'll be okay with it by the end.
Yeah, I assume by the end I won't care. And it will not matter if the episodes are good. That's the thing. If the episodes are fantastic, no one's gonna give a shit when they come out because everybody will watch it regardless. So that's really gonna be the defining factor. Because if they're shit, I'm gonna be so upset I stayed up till midnight. If it's like, I'm so tired and that was the worst episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen.
I do take some issue with what he says about going to a bookstore at midnight for the new Harry Potter book. The excitement about doing that is that you only get a new Harry Potter book every 2 years or so, you know, like it's an
You only
event.
get a new episode of Doctor Who every 3 years.
You know, if you go to a Marvel movie at midnight, there's only like, there's heaps of Marvel movies, but, you know, if you go to like Avengers Endgame at midnight, that's an event. You know, that's something you haven't seen for a year, and you want to know the conclusion of the story, so you want to go line up and be the first person to see it. But Doctor Who, every week for 7 weeks, it's not an event. It's not an event viewing thing, you know. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only reason
But
why I usually stay up at midnight, like to watch event series like Twin Peaks: The Return. There's only 18 episodes, and then that was it, finished. You know, I stayed up at 2 a.m. every week to watch that show because I was really into the story, and it's the first time Twin Peaks came back since the early 90s, so 25 years plus at that point. So
yeah, and I mean, for me, as a fan of the professional wrestling, you know, I would stay up to watch the big events like your pay-per-views, you know, your WrestleManias, your SummerSlams, and things like that, because it's like this is the conclusion to storylines. This is the big dramatic final. I want to see it and experience it live because it's a different feeling than watching it the next morning by yourself, you know, because it's an event, and maybe each episode of Doctor Who is going to be an event, but I doubt it. We've also got, on our next topic, Russell T Davies interview with Rolling Stones mentions this about the sonic screwdriver design. Now this, I don't know the accuracy of this storyline. That's been circulating. It got really big on Twitter, and it's been a very funny meme. I keep seeing that meme pointed up with everybody being like, "Oh, this is X's sonic screwdriver, and it's them with the gun." But the Doctor's trusty sonic screwdriver has been redesigned to resemble a remote control or a flip phone because Davis was worried that the old Sonic looked too much like a gun, which would encourage kids to pretend to shoot at one another. I feel like this isn't true. The article itself doesn't have any direct quote from Russell T Davies. Also, the line of logic makes no fucking sense whatsoever, because it's like, oh, it's going to encourage kids to pretend to shoot one another, as if kids aren't playing Fortnite.
Oh no, and also, like, I'm sorry, but what kid hasn't picked up a whisk and pretended he was a Dalek? You know?
Yeah. Or like, you know, and I've never made the connection of the sonic screwdriver being a gun before in my entire life.
Sense.
Like, it absolutely doesn't make sense. I don't see this being a real thing that Russell T Davies said. And if he did say it, he must have been drunk or something. It makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, it's the only point of the article which isn't a direct quote from Davis or Shutigawa. So I presume he must have talked about weapons and sonic screwdrivers, but maybe we were two separate points entirely, and the author just decided to merge them two for some reason. I don't understand, but yeah, we'll wait and see.
But also we saw in the trailer, Millie Gibson has like a giant gun in one episode. Yeah. So but surely that's still going to encourage kids to pretend to shoot each other. They're seeing literal guns. So it's the whole idea of this sonic screwdriver redesign is just, it's full of so many holes. It makes absolutely no sense.
It makes no sense.
It's a very funny meme.
I guess we just have to wait to hear a direct quote from Russell, because this doesn't.
That's
make
if he
any
addresses
sense.
it. He might not address it, or he might address it in many, many months to come, as was what happened with our next story here with Millie Gibson, where she is actually staying. She's not leaving Doctor Who. Wow. Remember all those months ago when the rumors started circulating that she had been fired, that she was unprofessional, that she had been replaced by a new companion? Turns out it's all bullshit. Wow, we kind of saw this coming as all bullshit, but it's really kind of annoying that it's taken them this long to quell those rumors. You know, that was months of just radio silence, of just people throwing dirt and shade at Millie Gibson, completely unjustifiably. Very cool.
It really doesn't make sense why they took so long to address. You know, all we had to say was, we are still working with Millie Gibson for season 2 and maybe beyond, or not even maybe beyond part, but we are still actively working with Millie Gibson.
Millie Gibson isn't going anywhere. What are you talking about?
Season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you had to say, basically.
Yeah, but this goes on and says, rather than being replaced at the end of the hotly anticipated upcoming run of the beloved sci-fi show, it has now been confirmed that Ruby Sunday that the Ruby Sunday Star will in fact be joined by a new character played by Andor's Verada Sethu, with the pair set to appear together alongside Ncuti Gatwa in Series 2, not Season 15. You wrote Season 15 on these notes. Russell's given me the gift of a really beautiful story arc, not only in Season 1, but in Season 2 also, says Millie Gibson. Chatting to Radio Times on the blue carpet for the Season 1 premiere, Gatwa said Sethu's edition. Gatwa said of Sethu's edition, "We're all really hot," and Gibson added, "It's a really hot TARDIS," which I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Russell T Davies talked more about Ruby, saying, "We were ordered for 2 years of a series from Disney, and we're delivering 2 years, and the Ruby Sunday story literally spans those 2 years. We are planning to shoot the season 2 finale, in which Ruby has the most magnificent scenes, and Millie, it's some of your most challenging material yet, isn't it? It will all make sense once you see it play out." To which Millie said, "I know how it ends next season, but after that I can only guess. I might be here with a walking stick in a few decades." Ncuti also insisted that he is not leaving the TARDIS yet. I reckon we've got... Ncuti might be the first Doctor to break the 3-season curse, but I don't think so. I feel like 3rd season and he's out still. I don't know if he's gonna... Maybe 3rd season, then some specials for a bit, then he's out. But we'll see. Also, how interesting would it be, because they've been ordered for 2 series from Disney, then Disney decides that it's not worth the investment. What happens to Doctor Who then?
I don't know.
It's a lot of...
it's a lot in the air, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at least they do have this large pre-production gap, so hopefully they can catch up. I do know that Ncuti Gatwa is performing on stage between November and the end of January of next year. So Doctor Who won't be back in production until like February at the earliest. So he's essentially taken a big, almost 7-month gap, because we're almost finished here.
I'm sure he's very much looking forward to. If you remember back to when they were shooting that 60th anniversary, and he was also shooting Sex Education at the same time, and we were covering his schedule, and it's like, oh my god, how does this man sleep? Just constant working. Which is also what I think leads to so many Doctors leaving after 3 series, is because the workload of being the Doctor is such a high workload. You know, not just the filming and the rehearsals and things like that, but you also have to think about press releases and, you know, just constant being the face of this show. But he seems to be enjoying it so far.
Especially with this Disney partnership, he has to travel all over the world promoting this show. Like, he's been in America all week promoting this show on Good Morning America, and also there's this Subway that's been promoting the show. It's been designed to look like it has Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson all over that Subway. So he's been promoting that as well. It's he's been insanely busy. But yeah, Millie Gibson staying, it's not surprising.
No, it's not surprising. It's really annoying that they took this long to say anything about it, but I'm glad that they've finally said something, and that Russell is, you know, backed Millie up, being like, oh no, she's great, she's staying, she's got some amazing character stuff coming, which I'm looking forward to a lot. I really liked her as a companion. I really liked Ncuti as the Doctor. I'm looking forward to seeing them both next week. Oh my god, exciting.
My presumption right now is that they just haven't signed the contract for season 3, so we don't know if Ncuti Gatwa is officially staying on, although he will definitely sign the contract, I think. We don't know if Millie Gibson is definitely staying on, but maybe she's leaving, maybe she's not at the end of season 2. It's hard to say at this moment.
Has there been a companion that stayed for 3 seasons? Clara? How long did Clara stayed for? A while?
Yes. Clara stayed on.
Oh yeah, of course, yes. Of course, yes. Yeah. How could the longest serving companion in the TARDIS? How could I forget?
Clara and Amy both stayed on for 2.5 seasons. So
yeah.
We'll see. And I think we do definitely know that season 2 is going to have Millie in a reduced role. Like, she's going to be recurring by the looks of it. Maybe like 5 episodes out of the 8 or something like that. We just don't know at this point. They're being rather cagey about the whole. We don't even know the new companion's name, which is wild.
That is crazy. There's also, have you been seeing the stuff about this new season coming out with people getting upset that it's going to be about the same length in runtime as Flux?
Yes, ridiculous. Who cares?
I'm like, okay, but if it's good, you won't give a shit. Like, Flux's problem wasn't that it was too short. Flux's problem was that nothing made sense. You know, like...
But yeah, we officially found out the runtime for the first 2 episodes. Episode 1 is 46 minutes, episode 2 is 49 minutes, and people were upset because they want hour-long episodes for some reason. Show's never really done hour-long episodes apart from on rare occasions.
Yeah, it's always been like a 40-minute show, and then on the specials you get an hour. That's just how it's always been. I don't know why you'd expect something different. But let's move into our next news segment we've got here, which is Doctor Who returns to BBC Proms with celebration of music and special guests. This is from the Radio Times. Murray Gold's mesmerizing score will be showcased at the event. The music of Doctor Who will return to the BBC Proms this year following an extended absence from the annual festival. The BBC National Orchestra of Wales will perform music by composer Murray Gold as famous sequences from the long-running series play on the big screen at the Royal Albert Hall. The announcement also teases spectacular lighting and special guests, with the latter sure to get fans speculating about who could be in attendance. There have previously been 3 editions of Doctor Who at the Proms, taking place in 2008, 2010, and 2013. So Christ, yeah, it's been over 10 years since it was last at the Proms, and featuring appearances from the likes of Freema Agyeman, Karen Gillan, Arthur Darvill, Matt Smith, and Jenna Coleman. All 3 are currently available to stream on BBC iPlayer. The article continues to go on. I don't know how much more I really need to read. I've never watched the Proms in my entire existence on this planet.
You should. They are fun. And they made like mini episodes for them as well. There's one where David Tennant is in the TARDIS, and it's like a 3D show. It's really fun.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll bother to check it out. When does the Proms air? Did I say that already? I totally
we don't know when it airs, but the brand new event will take place on Monday, the 26th of August, 2024 at 2:30 and 7 p.m. with a filmed version scheduled to be broadcast on BBC One Wales. Don't know why we specify BBC One Wales specifically. BBC Two and iPlayer in autumn or winter. So towards the end of the year,
it's ages away.
We'll see this.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll cover it in the news when we get an official release date closer to the time.
I always love the Proms. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah, I look forward to experiencing it for the first time ever. That will be a fun time. But we've also got our next segment, which is some 3 original 15th Doctor novels are coming out. But before I talk about those novels, there's another novel that I think I should talk about, which is Can You Taste the Color Orange, which was written by yours truly and is this really absurd existential sort of psychedelic sci-fi story that's better than anything Doctor Who's ever made ever. So you should buy the book. It's available everywhere where you can buy books. Can You Taste the Color Orange? Just Google that shit and buy my book, please. That'd be cool. Anyway, let's talk about some lesser good books about the 15th Doctor. BBC book lesser good. That sort of level of English is what you can expect in my book. BBC Books is pleased to announce that 3 new Doctor Who novels will be published this year, featuring Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday. Each book is an original standalone adventure and will be published simultaneously in hardback and audiobook. Plus, the audiobook editions of Doctor Who Ruby Red will be narrated by Millie Gibson, who plays the companion Ruby Sunday in the TV series. The Doctor Who original novels will be released in hardback in 2024, beginning with Ruby Red on the 13th of June, so they come out very soon. Caged is one of the books. Are aliens ever abducted by aliens? What? Surely. Yes, I would imagine, because
I mean,
any
technically,
alien
we are aliens to the aliens.
to the alien,
so
yeah,
everyone is an alien.
And if they were, would anyone believe their story? When the Doctor and Ruby arrive on Kavia, they meet a gentle local who is certain that she's been taken for study by creatures from the stars. The Doctor is concerned to find mysterious meteors appearing in the sky, while strange robotic creatures crowd the forest, watching everything and waiting for what? Who was interested in Kavia and why? What is the sinister truth of the abductions? The Doctor and Ruby must discover the secrets of this mysterious world and those who would seek to destroy it. That sounds like a fun little sci-fi story. The beginning of our aliens abducted by aliens is a really dumb premise, but the rest of it sounds pretty interesting. The other book is Eden Rebellion by Abby Fallis, or Fallis. I doubt it's Fallis, probably Fallis. On the crystalline planet of Yua, the guardians of Kubuntu are true Eden, said to be the most peaceful destination in the universe, at least until the Doctor and Ruby arrive. Ancient rivalries between Yua and its more prosperous sister world of Baya are being stirred. I hate fucking fake names. Are being stirred by forces unknown, threatening to plunge its people into anarchy. With Ruby swept up in the fire of the Yewan rebellion, the Doctor finds dark secrets buried deep in the planet's ancient history, and his hopes for a lasting peace hanging by a thread. For sinister guardians stalk the gardens of Kubuntu, while an impeccable enemy plots its shadows in plain sight.
These two books sound exactly the same to me. They go to a planet, discover mysterious
there's
history,
weird things happening,
and there's people waiting for them. Like
this one at least has got like a slight religious metaphor planted through it. It's called the Eden Rebellion. The planet's called Yewa, which is like literally the name of the Christian god. Like the Christian god name is like Yewa or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. But there's these religious elements that are filtered throughout that, which could make it a more interesting read from a metaphorical standpoint. It's also got a much nicer cover than the first one, although both covers all the covers are kind of shit, if I'm being honest. The other book is Ruby Red. April 1242. The Doctor and Ruby answer a distress call sent from medieval Russia. The signal sender, Ranavir, an alien girl forced to take part in a barbaric conflict between the armies of Estonia and Novgorod on the frozen surfaces of Lake Peipus. Ranavir wants to escape, but her distress call has summoned her warmongering sisters, intent on preserving family tradition whatever the cost, and as human battles begin, the Doctor and Ruby must face a more devastating threat, a monstrous entity with plans of conquest growing stronger beneath the icy lake. So that one, it's at least set on Earth, but again, it's aliens coming and there's going to be a big fight, and they're planning the sinister things. So there's a running theme throughout these three novels. Are you planning on picking up any of these books?
I may actually. Depends on the reviews. I'll probably check them out. I've always wanted more Doctor Who books. There hasn't been a Doctor Who book, like a proper book, since 2018. Like Jodie Whittaker only got like a couple of books, which is insane. Like I used to read these books as a kid, starting from like the Ninth Doctor Adventures. I would check them out in the school library. It was always a treat to find one. But these sound a bit too fantasy world for me. I like my Doctor Who steeped in reality, but this feels like I don't know. It feels too made up. If that makes sense.
Okay.
It makes no sense.
I don't have that. I mean, it's the same problem you have with the comics, where it feels like it couldn't exist in the show. Whereas that's not something that really bothers me, because I'm like, okay, I can enjoy this and I never see it in the TV show, but you can experience it in a different format. But I probably won't check out these books simply because I think right now I've got maybe about 15 books in my backlog that I keep buying that I want to read. So I've got a hefty pile to try and make my way through before I start adding even more to it. I need to be more responsible with my book purchases. But you don't. You at home don't. You should buy Can You Taste the Color Orange?
Yes.
As many times as you like. You should buy several different copies of it. You should empty your bank account. by buying my book. That's if you buy my book and you still have money, that money should be going towards buying my book again. Can You Taste the Color Orange? Available everywhere you can get books. Buy my book.
Yeah, buy one copy for everywhere you plan to read it. One for a bus, one for a bedroom, one for the living room, one for a bath. You know, that's at least 4 there.
Yeah. You can just leave them around your house, you know, and you know, you read them at different speeds. So you experience it differently as you're going through it. In our next story, we've got David Bradley returns. This is from the Radio Times. David Bradley returns as the Doctor in audio series that breaks free from canon. As if the audio series ever bothered to stay confined to canon before. Bradley will be joined by his Adventure in Space and Time co-stars Gemma Powell, Jamie Glover, and Claudia Grant. Big Finish has announced a brand new audio series called Doctor Who, The First Doctor Unbound, which will see David Bradley reprise his role as the First Doctor, and is only a slightly kinky-sounding title. Bradley first played the role of the First Doctor actor William Hartnell in a one-off 2013 docudrama, Adventure in Space and Time, which we've covered on this podcast, so feel free to go back and listen to that episode as well, but has since gone out to play the First Doctor himself in 3 episodes of Doctor Who on screen. The Doctor's Falls, which we've covered, Twice Upon a Time, which we've covered, and The Power of the Doctor, which we've covered. So you could feel, if you want to have a David Bradley experience of us talking about his performance as the First Doctor, feel free to listen to those episodes of the podcast. Now he is being reunited with his Adventure in Space and Time co-stars Gemma Powell, Jamie Glover, and Claudia Grant, who played actors William Russell, Jacqueline Hill, and Carol Ann Ford, respectively. Now they will take on those actors' Doctor Who parts, playing Barbara Wright, Ian Chesterton, and Susan Foreman. The series, the first volume of which will be released in September of next year and is now available to pre-order, will be free from established continuity to tell its own surprising stories. Producer David O'Mahony said, "The Peter Cushing feature films of the 1960s were our stylistic inspiration here. The lighter tone, the spirit of high adventure, the true technicolor nature of the storytelling. We want all these adventures to have that bank holiday or Sunday afternoon feeling." And if you're curious about those Peter Cushing movies, well, guess what? We've covered those on the podcast as well. So you can go and listen to our thoughts on those films. They're a lot of fun. He continued, "We combined this with the brilliant cast of the BBC's anniversary special, An Adventure in Space and Time, led by the legendary David Bradley. Working with such a wonderful cast and an exceptional creative team, we have created a time fracture leading to a separate universe. It might not be canon, or is it? But it's going to be brilliant. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be taking charge of the First Doctor Unbound. Similarly to the Lost Stories range, making these stories unbound to television continuity of Doctor Who gives us a wonderful creative freedom to explore characters, stories, and styles. The hunger to create new stories and be inspired by various parts of the Whoniverse has driven so many big, wonderful Big Finish productions to bring in this Doctor and set him on these adventures is like unearthing a treasure trove of potential and exciting tales. New audio dramas from Big Finish that aren't canon. They do sound like they're going to be fun. Like, he sounds really excited by them. He sounds like they're going to do some wacky stuff. But I'm curious if they're just not making it canon so they can be like, oh, the First Doctor met the fucking this guy, the fucking Weeping Angels. You know, like he met these monsters from the modern era.
I mean, the First Doctor has
remember.
probably already met the Weeping Angels. I wouldn't be surprised if that's already a story that exists. Like, canon and Big Finish has always been wonky as fuck. Like, you know, like every Doctor so far has met River Song, and that's because she either erases their memories or she uses a disguise. Like, that's there's so many ways we fuck around with canon. Like, who cares? But I'm interested to see what they do here, but I probably won't listen because too much Big Finish. I'm sorry.
There is too much Big Finish. I think the only way that I would listen to this is if they, in like 20 years' time, uploaded it to the live podcast feed they have, Doctor Who Into the TARDIS, which I have been listening to, and it's very good. It's a really good way to enjoy Big Finish without having to destroy your bank or get lost in the absolute ocean of content that they have. You know, it's curated episodes every single week, and it's honestly, it's really worth subscribing and listening to. I've been thoroughly enjoying it as part of my podcast rotation.
Nice. I need to listen to them.
Yeah, next up we've got Roblox. What's this about? This is also... God, that looks terrible. This is also from the Radio Times. Doctor Who joins massively popular game in huge BBC crossover. This is Doctor Who characters have officially joined Roblox alongside a host of other familiar faces across the BBC as the Broadcasting Corporation launches its Wonder Chase video game. Accessible via the widely popular children's gaming platform, the newly released offers players a selection of fun mini-games, challenging obstacle courses, collectibles to find, and nature facts to learn. Wonder Central serves as a hub world for the experience, where players can find Roblox incarnations of Louis Theroux, Zara McDermott, and CBBC's Hacker T-Dog, among others, as well as portals to more specific zones. What kid is loading up Roblox and being like, oh my god, I can't wait to meet Louis Theroux? Fuck yeah.
Me.
These include Total Sport, an island-themed map featuring the stars of Match of the Day, Tiny Planet, in which players shrink down to learn about nature, from Liz Bonin and Steve Blackshaw, and Festival Park, a celebration of music, art, and culture with CBBC's The Next Step team. But one of the most popular additions is likely to be the Deep Space Zone, an otherworldly map featuring Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday, who will be tracking down a mischievous goblin. The fucking goblins are back. Fans will remember that goblins were the central menace at the heart of the latest Doctor Who Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road, making this a timely follow-up. The BBC has promised new content and additional worlds for Wonder Chase, which will be rolled out over the course of the year. Fiona Campbell, controller of Youth Audience, said, BBC Wonder Chase brings some of the biggest BBC shows from the world of sport, drama, and the natural world alive in a game space that encourages play and social interaction between friends, and also the show's leading characters. Now, I've never played Roblox, because I'm obviously not its target audience. Its target audience is children. It's a very, very big game, I know that. It's kind of like Fortnite in that it's one of those games that is it's like a blank slate where people can make their own games within it and have lots of fun, which I think is really interesting. But the most that I know about Roblox is like a few years ago, it got into a lot of controversy because people were making like sex rooms in Roblox to have virtual Roblox sex with one another. And when I read that, I was like, what the fuck what is this game and why are people doing this? And I have zero interest in playing Roblox. When are we getting Ncuti Gatwa skin in Fortnite? Then I'll be more interested. Give me a Ncuti Gatwa skin in Fortnite. That'd be cool. And then I give him a gun and Russell T Davies will scream at me and be like...
Oh, I used to play Roblox all the fucking time. You never played Roblox?
Really? No, I never played Roblox.
I mean, it came out in I used to play it in 2008.
It's really old. Yeah, it's really old.
Yeah, it must be 20 years old at this point, almost.
I was a Minecraft kid. I liked Minecraft. Right. I didn't play Roblox. I played Minecraft because I was cool. Unlike you, dork.
Yeah, Roblox was fun. It's a good way to encourage kids to check out the BBC, because obviously a lot of younger kids don't really care for the BBC these days, and I think it's going to have a knock-on effect where they grow up and people will be less likely to care about the BBC. The BBC is kind of important. I've grown to love the BBC because think of all the services they give you. That's insane. It's an insane amount of services they give you, and it's important to have those services.
Yeah, I like the BBC as well. I'm a fan of the culture that the BBC produces and the TV shows that they produce. Like, they help form British entertainment in a way that otherwise, we would have, shitty ITV shows, you know? There's definitely, it's not a flawless
Yeah, definitely not.
entity, and it's definitely got problems and things that I disagree with. But I think as a whole, the TV industry is better that it exists rather than it doesn't exist. You know, it's. I mean, how can I have a nuanced opinion? It's good or bad. That's really how things work. Things are either good or bad. But let us move into our next segment here, which is a season 1 preview from Doctor Who magazine, which only previewed the first 3 episodes. Do you want to take this first episode, Scott, so I can rest my weary voice?
Yeah, so what we got was the episode titles for every single episode, and also there's heaps of interviews, so there's little nuggets of information from almost every episode here, so I'm looking forward to just diving in. The first episode is episode 1, called The Space Babies, written by Russell T. Davis. Oh, he's not writing a lot this year, let me tell you that much. It's directed by Julianne Robinson, and obviously the joke is he's writing most of the episodes. The plot for this episode the plot is the Doctor and Ruby arrive in 21506 on board a space station with a surprisingly fresh-faced crew. All aboard the baby form. Ruby and the Doctor find a mysterious captain who's been waiting for them patiently, and then there's the small matter of a creature stalking the lower decks who even terrifies the Doctor. Here comes the bogeyman.
Interesting.
So what do you think about this plot synopsis? I'm all in.
I reckon this is probably going to be one of the weaker episodes from the series, but there's a reason why it's episode 1, which is it's going to be a lighthearted, silly adventure for the family to enjoy. This is also a running motif so far in Ncuti Gatwa's stories, which is babies.
Yeah.
There's back-to-back baby episodes.
I mean, it is a recurring theme because of Ruby's storyline being abandoned as a baby. So, but it is strange that 2 episodes in a row is about babies. So, it is a weird one. This is from the Rolling Stone interview we talked about earlier. The season premiere offers up the adorable title characters in abundance, but also functions as a clear metaphor for governments that try to control reproductive rights without worrying about what happens to children after they're born. So yes, a light-hearted episode, like you just said, Matthew.
Yeah. It will be presented in a relatively light-hearted way. It doesn't mean it won't have dramatic elements, but there's going to be a lot of like cute shots of babies being like, go, bah.
No, the babies are actually going to talk. I'm looking forward to that.
It's gonna be like look
Genius.
Who's talking.
So to continue, if you're not writing that in 2024, what on earth are you doing? Argues Davis. I think our rights are in danger. I'm talking as someone who's lived through the gay liberation, all the way through the AIDS crisis, all the way through to the freedoms that we have now. I can see them spinning and being endangered, so there's no choice in this. And if the most exciting and entertaining action adventure show on television can also do that, I think that's wonderful. Gatwa responds to this speech with an exaggerated snap, cracking up both men, so the interviewer and Russell T. Davis. So it's obviously important to handle these political discussions. And it's something that Doctor Who's always done.
Doctor Who has never, ever been political. I don't know what you're talking about. It's always been a show that is about nothing, and they never address anything. And it's just a series of flashing images happen, and then I stop watching. That's what Doctor Who's always been.
I think there's a good 70% chance that maybe Fox News or somebody like that is going to talk about this episode as a hot debate, which I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to the online debates about reproductive rights and Doctor Who. You know,
it's gonna get a lot worse. I think the online discussion about Doctor Who, simply because it's now reaching out again to that really big US market, and the people in the US don't understand nuance, and everything is either good or bad, and you have to pick a winning team. So there's going to be a lot of, I think, really, really nasty online comments. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's going to be a lot of support. Maybe it's going to be handled really well. Maybe the internet's not going to be what I expect it is definitely going to be like. But
there's definitely people being attacking Russell D. Davis. I showed you that insane 1,500 word tweet the other day. Actually, I think it's more like 1,600 word. It's an insane long tweet about Russell D. Davis, and it's not great. What a horrible
It's cool.
time.
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's really cool. I love the internet. It was such a good idea.
You want to take a next one?
Sure. Our the next episode, which is airing the same day, remember, right after episode 1, comes episode 2. Actually, are they dropping at the same time so I could watch episode 2 before episode 1?
Yep. That's what Russell D. Davis says.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, you can watch episode 2, but why would you do that? And that's a lot of concern because people are worried that somebody's going to go to episode 2 immediately at midnight, skip right to the end, and spoil something for next week or something. Like,
yeah. But it's the dropping of episodes is not a flawless format for sure. But anyway, episode 2, The Devil's Chord, written by Russell T. Davis. Oh, it's nice that he's writing an episode, directed by Ben Chessel. The plot: if she could go anywhere in time and space, Ruby would choose London 1963 because she has no imagination, to see the Beatles record their very first album. The Beatles? Why have I never done that before? Wonders the Doctor. He's about to find out, because they're very expensive. At the EMI Studios on Abbey Road, the most successful pop group of the 20th century is in trouble. What does a maleficent god want with Liverpool's finest foursome? What ancient power lies within the Devil's Chord? And why does John Lennon wake up crying? I'm gonna not say any of the John Lennon jokes that I could be making about that. But the Beatles one, we'll see. There's of course the big issue of they're not able to use any of the Beatles music, which Russell T. Davis talks about with whoever wrote this article. Is it Radio Times? No, Doctor Who magazine. What am I on about? Doctor Who, he talks about it. Anyway, I can't
remember where this quote comes from. So
yeah,
I think it's Rolling Stone this interview comes from.
Okay. I immediately knew that it's almost impossible to use any Beatles music on television. It's so expensive that you can't use a single note. Believe me, we tried. But that then created the story. Literally, there's a story in motion. The Beatles, but you can't use the Beatles music. Which I guess is an interesting challenge. It does make it less interesting, because the whole appeal of the Beatles isn't their dynamic personality, because, you know, they were a bunch of stoner fucking English guys from, like, Liverpool, you know, like, Russell T. Davis says there's almost no plot in this episode, just some subplots. There's hardly anyone else on it. I've never quite written like that before. It feels very liberating. It's an absolute joy. So I'm really looking forward to watching an episode with no plot and no Beatles music.
I mean, I think the point of the plot is that Maestro,
the Beatles music's like their music's getting stolen or something, you know.
The Jinx. I'm trying to get this right. Monsoon.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Monsoon, not Moon Sun.
I'm sorry for never hearing of this person before now. But yeah, basically,
yeah,
that's basically the premise of the story. I would imagine. But
which is what it's like the plot of Yesterday, but without the main character.
Almost, yeah. But the thing about Yesterday that really annoys me is the guy from Yesterday wakes up in a world where Beatles music never existed, and he becomes a big hit because he recreates all the Beatles music. But what the movie misses is the fact that the Beatles only became popular because they were charismatic, you know? Like, they all had their own energy to the Beatles. Like,
yeah. They also did, like, literally invent new ways of doing music. You know, like nobody was making music quite like the Beatles. But it's also what I found really interesting about that movie is that guy had memorized so many Beatles songs, like beat by beat, chord for chord, lyric by lyric. Like he's got an incredible memory.
The movie is fucking terrible. The original concept of the movie was the guy wouldn't be a big hit because, of course, you can't recreate the Beatles with just one person, with just one regular schmo, you know? So, and then the premise became, oh no, he becomes a big hit, and it doesn't make any sense. Like he sells out arenas and shit. Like, how does that happen? Just one guy recreating the Beatles.
You just sound jealous. Episode 3. Do you want to take episode 3?
Yes, of course. This is episode 3. Boom, written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Julianne Robinson. And the plot for this one is deliberately brief. On an alien battlefield, the Doctor must hold his nerve or everyone dies. From Doctor Who magazine, the story's big idea has its genesis in a Doctor Who tale from many decades ago. You'll know it when you see it. So this is the whole scene from Genesis of the Daleks where the Doctor steps on the mine and he and Harry Sullivan have to try and get him off of the mine, along with the odd kiss to Stephen's own Who legacy. If there's a key word that informed the script, he says it's suspense. Boom also marks a significant first for Doctor Who through its use of in-camera VFX technology to create the episode's alien landscape. Joel Collins says, as a producer, I know this technology is going to give us something in the future, but ultimately, it's the story that dictates the need, and this was the right story. So he also goes on to talk about how he went to many different locations, or he went to different locations to try and find the right alien landscape, but nothing could look alien enough. And then he was like, if we didn't have his technology, we would just use like a painted set, which wouldn't look as good. It would look like a 60s TV show. So instead we went for this technology, which makes a lot more sense.
He's talking about the volume here, isn't he?
Yes, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, which I don't mind the volume. I think I'm with most people when I'm kind of sick of it because it does make everything. Like it's the same problem that green screen had when green screen was first getting used by every single movie, which is everything starts looking the same. Everything is flat. Everything looks fake behind you, and it takes away from being in an actual physical set. You know, it's like if you compare like Mandalorian season 3 to Andor season 1. Andor feels lived in, it feels big, it feels huge, whereas like Mando feels like everyone's standing against a screen.
I mean, the same thing with the prequels and green screen.
Although like personally I think it adds to the aesthetic of the prequels, but
if you say so.
You know, it's I think if you stylize your green screen to make it, that's why I love Speed Racer so much, is because like Speed Racer is some of the most insane green screen I've ever seen in my entire life, but it did it like nobody else, you know, and so it's really unique and cool to watch. And maybe with this being like because it's like a one location sort of story, maybe the volume's not going to be, because it's supposed to feel claustrophobic and isolated and things like that. And I mean, it's Doctor Who, so it's probably going to be the best looking set we've ever seen in our life.
From what I've seen from the behind the scenes photographs and some images we've seen in the trailers, it isn't as noticeable as, say, some of the worst episodes of The Mandalorian, because I think the lighting is really important in situations like this, and from what I've seen, the lighting is really spot on. It feels like it's an actual alien planet rather than them standing in front of TV screens, you know. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm glad they clarified, we're definitely not going to keep using this technology over anything else. We're using exterior locations and shit like that. We're not relying on this too much, but we will use it when we need to use it, which is, I'm happy about it. I'm very happy.
The next episode is 73 Yards, written by Russell T. Davis.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Nice. Directed by Dylan Holmes Williams. Russell T Davis said, "Episode 4 has got possibly the strangest villain you'll ever see. You have to come and watch. Even in an interview like this, it's hard to describe. You've got to come and watch episode 4 to understand what's going on." And that's all we know about episode 4 is that it's got a really strange villain. So I'm curious as to what that is. I'm curious as to if it's going to be a baby. Maybe it'll be another baby.
I'm trying to think of what episode this could be. This was the episode, the preview thing they did on Twitter by announcing each episode half an hour in advance, and there's like a short little GIF of each episode title. This episode suggests that it's set in a bar of some sort, like at World's End, so I don't know what the story is. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But the next episode, episode 5, Dot and Bubble, written by Russell D Davis. Nice to see him working. Yeah. What a surprise. Directed by Dylan Holmes Williams. Russell D Davis says, episode 5. I remember talking to Stephen Moffat about that in around 2010, which is interesting, 2010, when he was off the show. So he was considering coming back to the show in 2010? Interesting.
I don't know if it was he was considering coming back more than just him and Moffat are good friends that talk about Doctor Who episodes.
Maybe.
And so maybe it was like an idea that got tabled and they were like, oh, that would be fun. Too bad we'll never be able to do it, you know?
So he says, and we couldn't have afforded it. When you see it, you'll go, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Visually, it has more effects than any other episode. And the same thing was said about 3 episodes ago with Wild Blue Yonder.
That's what I say. That's what I say. That's a really interesting thing to say because you've already said that. And Wild Blue Yonder looked okay. There were the big effect shots for that. I wasn't a huge fan of, but I liked the really weird body horror elements. The more of the spaceship set just kind of didn't look great, but the body horror stuff was fun in that.
He also said episode 5 has great big ugly monsters, which are fantastic. I think he's talking about the slug people who attack people on the streets. I think this is the political episode with the politician running in Wales. And Dot and Bubble suggests it's also like a social media episode because obviously when you type to someone, all you see is all the other person sees is a dot and some bubbles. You know, that's how you look at it when you're typing.
Yeah.
The next episode, I'll cover this just quickly. Episode 6, Rogue. This is the episode which is the Bridgerton episode with Jonathan Groff is his name. Yeah. This is written by Kate Herron and Bryony Redman, and it's directed by Ben Chesler. I couldn't find any more information about this one, but yeah, this one looks quite good.
Interesting. I'll take episode 7 and 8. Episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which is written by Russell T Davis and directed by Jamie Donahue. Russell T Davis recommends that we watch this episode at midnight because it's shocking, frankly, and there might be screaming. So there you go. You've got to watch episode 7 at midnight or Russell T Davis will attack you. Episode 8, Empire of Death, written by Russell T Davis and directed by Jamie Donahue. Russell T Davis says there's stuff in the finale that I must have been thinking of for 40 or 50 years, which is interesting. Also, the fact that it's directed by the same guy makes me think that it's probably going to be some sort of cliffhanger. It's a two-parter for sure. Which sounds interesting, and that is series 1 of Doctor Who, 8 episodes. We don't know a lot about it. First 2 episodes are dropping at the same time, so it's only 6 weeks of New Who, which is sad.
7.
It's not long enough. 7 weeks. I can't count. 7 weeks. Which is sad, but if they're good, it's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be sad that it's going to be here and be over as quick as even quicker than Flux. Like it's going to zip by. But I am looking forward to it. I am optimistic. I'm very curious as to what it's going to be. I'm looking forward to seeing Shooty again as the Doctor. I'm looking forward to seeing Millie again as Ruby Sunday. And I'm just looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this brand new show, Doctor Who.
But yeah, we've got 8 episodes and essentially only 3 writers, not including obviously one of them is written by 2 people, but only 2 new writers writing 1 episode, and 6 of the episodes written by Russell T Davis, which a lot of people were upset about, and I kind of feel about the same way. I was hoping for more of a mix of newcomers. Why?
Yeah, no, I understand why people are upset for sure. Yeah, and I get everybody was like, why didn't you hire that really cool author Matthew Reed who wrote that really good book Can You Taste the Color Orange to come and write an episode for you? So let's drive up that campaign by buying my book Can You Taste the Color Orange, so we can convince Russell T Davies that he doesn't need to write every single episode of this show.
I do wonder if I think he does say that season 2 will have more new writers. Now I wonder if the point is that he's writing I wonder if he's writing most of these episodes because he wants to build up like a backlog of this is what Doctor Who should look like. Read this script and try to write it in a similar style, so you'll understand the characters, you'll understand the themes, you'll understand just how it's written, like just as a good example, because obviously they shot season 1 and 2 back to back, and if you're writing a season 2 episode and season 1 hasn't even aired, like you have no idea what's going on, and that's a problem that Stephen Moffat encountered when Clara was introduced. Like she was so inconsistent in her first couple of episodes. Like Neil Gaiman had no idea how to write Clara, and there was no input from Stephen Moffat really on how what Clara was essentially. So yeah, I think I understand why he's doing this. So hopefully season 2 will increase the writers.
We'll see. Again, I think this is where the spin-offs are going to come in with introducing new writers, and it's going to be you can work on the good show if you're good enough at working at the spin-offs. But we'll see what the future holds. I am looking forward to the future of Doctor Who. Hopefully it's got nowhere to go but up, and we're going to go into bigger and brighter things. But that does take us into the end of our news episode. So we will be back next week covering the first 2 episodes of Series 1 of Doctor Who. We are going to be covering them back to back, dropping the episode at midnight. No, it'll be out at the usual time, or probably late, because we just do episodes late now.
We have no idea when the episode will drop, but
it will be out. Yeah,
maybe by Wednesday. Wednesday, I would say. Hopefully,
we have the problem of both of us work full-time jobs and do this podcast for free in our spare time, along with like 1,000 other things that we are working on. So you could support our podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube at youtube.com/@whowatcheswho, or by following it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or anywhere where you get podcasts, where it is available in audio form as well. As I said before, you could join our Discord server, the Who Watches Who Discord, where you can sit and chat with us about Doctor Who, about movies, about just basically anything. You can even sit in and listen to episodes as they are being recorded completely for free. Just feel free to join the server. There's no paywall for anything. We make absolutely no money off this show because we're really good businessmen. We also you can also buy my book, Who Watches Who, anywhere. My book isn't called Who Watches Who. My book is called Can You Taste the Color Orange? Anywhere you can buy books. Check it out and let me know what you think. That would be really cool. You can follow my gaming channel at Psychedelic Gaming Hobos, anywhere where you can on YouTube. You can follow the podcast on Facebook at Who Watches Who, on Twitter at Watches Doctor. There's like 1,000 links in the description. Use them at your own discretion, and we will be back next week covering season 1. Until then, bye.